Hello guys, this is my fifth video on Entity Framework course series. In a previous videos, we have talked about working with the code first approach, generating the database by creating entities, establishing the relationship across entities, one to one, one to many relationship, many to many relationship. We talked about that, and we have also talked about migration commands. In this video, we will talk about some other features related to the Entity Framework core. So I have a project where I already have the necessary packages, those are installed. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm actually going to generate the entities from the database. So I have the sample app database with the employee and person table. Employee table have this many number of records. Now in this video, we will see how we can perform the bulk operations like update and delete in more efficient way in Entity Framework Core 7. So let me go to the command prompt here and then generate my models here. So I'm gonna get models; those are generated. That is my employee class and the person class will be getting that here. So that's what it is. And now since we also want to log the entries on a console to explain you about the process of execution while connecting or while making call to the database with entity framework code, I'm going to add some code here. So let me do it like this, and then here I'll say that option builder dot log2, and here I'll say console dot right line. I'm doing that here, and let me go back, and then here I'll say that var employees is equals to, so I'll say that here first of all sample context is equals to new sample context, and here I'll say that it's context dot employees dot to list. So let me save this, and then when I'm going to run this over here, we will see the log which is there on our console window, and then it will show us the select statements, those are generated. Executing the select statement, select, and here the list of columns to get the data, as well as here executed. So executing log as well as executed state log, right? So we are getting this. Now important part is that the Microsoft Entity Framework makes a use of the change tracker or change tracking, which is responsible to monitor the update and delete. So ultimately, what's going to happen is that whenever we are going to perform any operations to the database using Entity Framework core, the data is been fetched and it's been put with the client, and then operations will be monitored or they will be tracked. That's what is going to happen, and we are going to talk about that only. So let me go back to the code. I'm stopping this app and let me get rid of this statement. And then let's say that I want to update salaries of all employees by 10,000. So I do have somewhere around 20 records here, and then I want to update the salary of all 20 records. So generally, when we write a query, right, we simply say that, right, what is that? Update employee, and then we say that set salary is equals to, right, whatever salary plus 1,000. This is what that whatever 1,000, 10,000. Okay, we write this type of statement, and then the statement gets executed, and then one statement updates whole thing, right? That's what it is. But when we are trying to do this with Entity Framework core, what should we do? So if I go here, I'm going to write a for each statement here. I'll say that context dot employees, right? And over here I'll say that, so this, I'll follow the nomenclature. I'll say emp dot salary is equals to emp dot salary plus 10,000. I'm doing that. Okay, here. And then what I'm going to do is that here I'll say context dot save changes. This is what it is. Now, like, of course, the code is going to work perfectly all right, no doubt about it. So when I'm going to run this out over here, right, the execution is going to take place. And if you see that over here, right, I got the salary that got updated. So 12,000 has become 22,000, and same for all. But if I take you back to the log here, you see that there are multiple update statements those got generated. Now this is a problem. What happens is that the round trip to the database will be performed with this statement. So whatever the statement that we wrote, okay, the round trip will be performed, and this will load all the employees data, right, here, or the client. Okay, it brings all the employees row data to the client. So even though we are just thinking about the salary, it is going to get all the data. And then what happens is that the change tracker of the entity framework core will create a snapshot. When the data was loaded, it will create a snapshot of all the entities. And then for once the change has been done, right, what it is going to do is that it is going to compare that snapshot to those entities based upon whatever the property value is being changed. And then with the save changes, the second round trip will be performed here, right? The second round trip will be performed, and then all the changes will be saved back to the database server. This is what is going to happen. So many update statement. This is the big challenge, right? These statements will get updated. So I just have 20 records right now here in my table, but there could be multiple records, correct? So for every record, the update statement is going to get generated for every record, and which is definitely not really great idea, right? It's going to cost us for the performance. And this is where then what do we have is that for performing such type of bulk operations, right, like an update or delete, right, we have been provided with some simpler approach of working with the updating database updating operations with entity framework core. So what I can do is that I can comment out this code right now here, and then I can write a very simple statement here. I can say context dot employees dot execute update, and then I'm going to put my condition over there. So execute update, what it does is that, so this basically updates all database rows for the entities instance, right, which made the link query from the database. So what this is going to do is that, like, this is going to basically uh, create the this method is going to accept a conditional statement over there to generate a query, right, a statement which will be executed immediately against the database, right? So instead of having that deferred execution over here, right, rather than being deferred until, so here it's given that, okay, deferred until the db.save changes is called, right? What it does is that just in a one single call, it connects to the database and perform the operation. Okay, so no interaction with the chain tracker is needed, right? So that is the best thing here, right? Because what happens is that every instance which we are updating, right, the chain tracker is gonna perform the comparison, right? It's gonna compare the updates. So that is not gonna happen here. That's the benefit. So how we can do it here? I can just say that now e goes into e dot set property here, right? I'm gonna have the property being updated. So I'll say e goes to e dot salary, right? And this will be updated as e goes into e dot salary plus, I'm gonna have 10,000, right? So now let me save this and let me execute it. So this will be executed, and see that unlike the previous statement here, we just got one single update statement. That's the benefit here. One single update statement, executing and executing. Right. So no interaction with the tracker is going to take place. Immediately the database hit is going to take place, and all my operations are going to committed. So if I again refresh this, see the value is being changed here. Biggest advantage. Highly optimized for the sake of performance over here. This is exactly like the way that we used to pass the direct select queries in older days, or I must say that with a very traditional coding in entity framework code with SQL statements. I can say context dot database dot execute SQL, and then we write the statement like this: update employee set, right, salary is equals to salary plus 1,000. It is, or at 10,000. It's exactly same like that. Or in older version of entity framework core, we used to go for a interpolated queries over there. Okay, so in older version, we used to work like that, working with the interpolated queries. So now those things are gone. We directly work with a typical managed operation. This is what the advantage that we are going to have it here. Similarly, we can also perform the delete. So this is for my update. Okay, so let me copy this here and then let me paste it here, and then I say you, and then I'm gonna write here something like that, context dot employees dot remove, and then I'm removing that instance. So the instance being tracked, I'm gonna remove it. So what's gonna happen is that for every instance, okay, for every instance the tracker will be executed here. So number of queries will be generated and these will be then executed individually with save changes. So now if I go here and probably I'm gonna write a condition that dot where, right, I'll say E goes into E dot, okay, E dot deputy name is equals to, I'll say IT. Okay, so let me go back here. I have some employees of IT, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I do have that. So let me run this here and you'll see that those many statements got generated. Right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, total 5 statements. Right. Again, why? So this is definitely an inefficient way of performing the operation. What is going to happen is that the query will be generated, the query will hit to the database for those matching employees, right, which is mentioned in a filter, and every instance is being will be tracked again based upon match filter, right? So here we are having the filter is IT, right? So whatever the number of employees, right, instance those are generated for this IDs, they will be generated and then they will be executed. It's a huge performance flaws. How we can optimize this again? So I can save this here, and then what I can do is that let me copy this here, right? Paste it. I'll say here execute delete, and then I'm gonna change my condition. E goes into E dot, right here. I just say that, okay. So here dot where, say E goes into E dot deep in name, and I'm gonna take HR because we have already removed employees from IT. Let me execute it. So I'm having HR 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So let me save this and then let me run this. So no need to call save changes again. And see here, the log is gonna take place and see that we have one single statement. So again executing. So in one single shot, the call will be made to the database and then the delete will be executed. Benefit here. Huge performance improvisation, right? Instead of working on the chain tracker and executing individual statement, this is one single call to the database. The best thing what has been offered by Entity Framework Core 7 here. So guys, when you are going to make a use of EF Core, which anyways most of the customers are using for their products as well as for their services, when it goes to the performance improvisation with the data access, which is exactly the lowest layer of your application, data access layer, if you optimize that, naturally this is going to be beneficial for the rest of the part of the application. This is what it connects, right? So this is again the video in the same series of Entity Framework Core which I have already published on my channel, right? So stay with me guys for the further updates related to the ASP.NET Core and Entity Framework Core and so forth. Thank you guys, thank you very much.